G'day, that's Slot Car Guy here and welcome back to another review. And you're probably thinking, Trav, why do you have an RC car in front of you and not a slot car? Well, stick around and let's unbox the Kyosho Mini-z 128 scale all-wheel drive drift car. And I'm going to tell you why I have an RC car and how I'm going to try and incorporate the slot car world and the RC world together. So welcome back to another review, and do not adjust your TV sets. Yes, this is an RC car, but if you are a slot car subscriber of mine and you do like my slot car content, I'm definitely not moving away from the hobby. I'm merely trying to blend these two hobbies together, and how I do that, I will show you in the video. But first off, a quick disclaimer, this is a Kyosho RC car, but I'm not sponsored by Kyosho whatsoever. I did spend my own money from an eBay seller in Australia to purchase this, and lucky for me at the time, I did get around about 65 Australian dollars off the RRP. So check eBay, check your local sellers. If you do like this car or this brand or this RC brand itself, please support your local hobby shop and your local sellers. When it comes to RRP, the price fluctuates from $250 Australian upwards. So I can't tell you exact prices on how much you will spend on one of these. Enough about the details. Why have I chosen an RC car? Well, of course, my passion is slot cars, but I did used to race RC cars as a young fella at a decent level. I didn't win any titles, and most of the time I was crashing, but I did go into a lot of races, so it is a great hobby of mine that I did enjoy. Why have I chosen Kyosho though? And let's have a quick look at this. This is a 128 scale Kyosho Mini-z all-wheel drive drift car. These cars come in front wheel, all-wheel drive and rear-wheel drive. They have slicks and they have drift tires. So depending on what you want to do is how you can purchase one of these. This is an RTR or an RTD, ready to drift set. It comes with the controller, which is 2.4 gigahertz, and this beautiful car. But let's have a quick talk about the car itself, because I'm a slot car collector and an RC collector and a die-cast car collector. This is very, very nice. This is the Dodge Challenger SRT Hellcat Red Eye Sublime color. Beautiful. But look at the detail. It is up there with some of the nicest looking slot cars, die-cast cars, and RC cars I've seen. Let's go around to the front. There's a beautiful, nice yellow splitter, and we will take a closer look and then around to the back. And of course, as always, we'll do the full unboxing and teardown. The teardown won't be so great because it is just a chassis and shell, but we will do a full unboxing what we get in here. But let's have a quick talk. What do we get in here? We get a factory assembled chassis, a 2.4 gigahertz controller. You get the wheel wrench to take the wheels off. You get the pinion gear tool, which looks pretty cool. You get the pinion gears, which is 4 of them, a 15, 17, 19, and a 21 tooth. You get 3 spur gears at 27, 29, and 31 tooth. And you get spare wheel nuts, including some mini pylons for your drifting. And that's what that says here on the box. But why have I chosen this? Well, I like the scale. I race 132 and 124 scale slot cars, and I do collect them. I do have 143 and HO, but 128 is a really good mix in between the scale. Why have I gone RC though? Well, I have this huge slot car track behind me, plus this huge concrete floor. I'm gonna see if I can use my slot car track to run an RC car around it at this scale. Now mine is only a double lane or 2-lane track. If you had a 4-lane plus, I think this will be a really good second hobby to get into if you're wanting to race RC cars when you don't want to race slot cars. It's a good dual hobby. It's a wet weather hobby, it's indoors. So I will try and do a hot lap, with this car around my track. It has got drift tires, so I think this might be a really good drift track, but that is my experiment today. Hit the comments before I do an unboxing. What do you think? But let's get into it. What is in this box? What do you get from Kyosho when you purchase it? And then let's take this thing for a hit around my track. So what do you get when you purchase the Hellcat by Kyosho, the 128 Mini-z all-wheel drive drift car? Well, let's take a look at the controller first, because you will need this to get the car going. It is a very basic plastic 2.4 gigahertz controller. 2.4 is really good because if you are running multiple cars, you shouldn't get any interference at all. A nice grippy wheel, so if you do get sweaty fingers, there's a nice bit of grip on that wheel itself. And we do have some trimming and adjustments on this basic controller. It is very basic. It does take 4 AAA batteries, so does the chassis, so you will need batteries. Batteries are not included, but it is very basic. I do like that because if you are into the hobby, you can upgrade it. If you're not, well, you're not throwing away a top of a range controller. What else do we get in the box itself? Well, we get some witches hats, what we call these witches hats in Australia. On the box, they call them pylons. They're really cool. You can set up a nice little drift track or some markers you can go around, but this you can also use on your RC track. What else do we have? We have the battery cover and the tools, the pinion tool and the wheel hub tool. So really cool, some little options in there. And of course, talking about options, we've got the spur gear and the opinion to make the setup yours. So you can test and try what you think's good. Top end, acceleration, you name it. Now let's talk about the star of the show, the Hellcat itself in this beautiful sub-lime green color. But I am using Harel RS's slot car track to show scale, and I will bring in a Carrera slot car to also show the scale. This is a 132 scale slot car, 128 scale RC car, and of course you can get 124 scale slot cars, which is bigger again, and I don't have one in arm's reach. But I think that is a really good size, so there's your comparison to show how I think this will work on your slot car track. So let's take that away and let's take a look at this beautiful Hellcat. Now, we're used to quality in our hobby. I'm an RC enthusiast. This is definitely quality for such a small slot RC car. Here we go again. So this is 128 scale. It is in sub-lime green, and look at that shine. Very, very nicely done. And of course, on top of the roof, we've got this really nice blacked out matte black section across the top with these beautiful little air scoops, which represents the real car, but of course no active area. That is hardened plastic or part of the mold itself. But I do like the execution of how they've done this matte black, and as you can see, I'm probably going to leave fingerprints. On top we've got the aerial that looks really cool, which would be on the real car itself. The windows are quite tinted, and of course there is no cockpit in here. It's literally shell and chassis, but maybe you can make your own, I don't know. Side mirrors are really well done, painted in that sublime green around to the front. Take a look at that, absolutely stunning. Not 100% sure yet if there is active lights, but we'll check that out in the tick. Love this yellow design splitter. Nice black splitter with this yellow tip painted on it, really, really nice. But look how aggressive, and we'll get close up on that, that is. Absolutely stunning. Of course, got your indicators down the side. Let's move around to the passenger side, well, the driver's side, depending on what country you're from. Again, the sublime green with the blacked out rims. Now, I am running the hardened plastic drift rims. There's no grip on these whatsoever. You can buy radials and drift tires for these. And of course, the only other difference down the side is this nice blacked out fuel cap, which I think they've done a really good job. So if you are looking at quality, this is definitely up there with the best slot cars, the best die-cast cars. It looks really, really good. Around to the rear, this beautiful, hopefully I can get it, rear spoiler, blacked out rear spoiler. Looks really, really nice, and we'll zoom in on that. Looks incredible. And of course, the rear end on this thing, take a look at that. Absolutely incredible. So let's have a look at the chassis quickly, and then the point of the video, let's see if I can take this for a drift around my slot car track. We have now seen the size. I believe it's going to be okay, but let's have a look at the chassis, then we'll go for a spin around my track. So how simple is it to remove the shell and the chassis on these Kyosho Mini-Zs? Well, very, very simple. It's as simply as unclipping. There is no screws on this shell and chassis to remove them apart. There is screws on the chassis itself, plenty of screws. But this white tab at the front is pressed into the shell. You simply pull forward, which that will pop out, and then you simply peel like you're taking apart an orange, and it pops out from either side. And I'll quickly show you. As you can see, there's your side tabs which plug up and underneath the car itself, and then your front tab goes into the front of the car. Talking about the shell itself, these are interchangeable. Depending on what chassis you have, you can replace the shell with whatever car you can find. There is third-party makers for these shells, but bear in mind they are very expensive and very collectible depending on what you're looking for. Porsches, you name it, they are very, very expensive, but really, really well done. Inside itself, the major difference is there is no cockpit, there is no interior. They don't come with interior or cockpit, but I would love to see someone, and I believe there is videos on YouTube of a full interior done. Lights, no active lights, but I believe this chassis will run plug-in LED lights, which I'll show you in a tick, but very, very well done, very high quality, very strong. Let's take a look at the chassis itself. Now, I'm not going to tear this down because this will be a 45-hour video, but we'll have a look at the basics. It is four-wheel drive. It is running the hardened drift tires. Yes, you can get slicks, you can get radials for them, but what you will need is batteries for the controller and for the chassis itself. 4 AAAs for the chassis and 4 AAAs for your 2.4 gigahertz controller. Batteries will go inside this battery window here, 4 go in there, and with your spares you have a window cover which holds the batteries in place. Your receiver, 2.4. Most of the stuff on here is very basic. I believe it's a ball bear. It's got bearings in it, in the axles and where it needs to be, so the spinning is more free spinning. Your servo is a basic servo. Yes, you can buy a hop-ups on this car. The sky's the limit. carbon chassis, aluminium chassis, aluminium wheel hubs, aluminium pinions, you name it. It's an RC car in a mini form. So if you are an RC racer, this thing can be hopped up to the nines, but a very, very well done basic set. And this is good for a beginner and for someone who wants to test out the hobby themselves. But as you can see, the size itself is perfect for a slot car track. So that's what we're going to do right now. We're going to put some batteries in, we're going to link up the controller, and we're going to take this thing for a spin around my slot car track. So what is the verdict? Can I use my slot car track as a Mini-Z race or drift track? And right now I've got to say no, I cannot. And of course, this was an experiment only because I do want to see how else I can use my slot car track because I do enjoy RC cars. But right now, that's a big fat no because that lap you just watched took me way too long to get out. And I didn't even use the drift tires. I used some rubber slip-ons that I had from an older RC car that I had. And that was extremely hard to get this car around. Why didn't it work? Well, the drift setup that this car comes with is obviously hard plastic tires or rims, whatever you want to call them. They are way too skinny for my track, and as soon as it hits the slot, it wants to spin out and go all over the place. And of course, the rubber tires that I fitted for the run was slipped over the top of these drift rims, so they weren't fitted properly, and it was a complete mess to try and get it around. So part 2 will be proper rims, proper tires, drift and road tires to see if I can use this as a racetrack for RC because I do enjoy that hobby. If you have a wider track, a 4-lane plus, I think with the modifications I just spoke about, it will be a hell of fun because these things are seriously quick. But I will enjoy this as an RC car, and of course, I will go back to slot car racing and slot car reviewing. But I thought I'd try an experiment, try something different. Hit the comments. Was it worth me trying? Would you like to see part 2? Because I really want to get this thing going. But as always, at That Slot Car Guy on Instagram and YouTube. And yes, I will be going back to slot cars on my next video. But stay tuned. I had a good chat today with MP Slots. Check out his Instagram and YouTube page. We will be doing a live stream very soon, and hopefully that's a regular thing where we talk all things slot cars. So stay tuned for that. But as always, be safe, take care, ciao.